It's been about 6 months since I uploaded anything at all on this channel, not including that quick open evening demonstration, and for the past year, or actually a little bit longer than that, I've just been working non-stop on this bionic hand project. So some of you will have seen I uploaded a video recently that was just a demonstration of the hand and the control glove and a few different parts of it, and that was intended for university open evenings to play and just give people an idea of what this project was. But I wanted to make a little bit longer video and just kind of explain some of the finer details. So for anyone who hasn't seen any of the other videos, this is a project that I did as my individual project in my third year at university, and the idea of it was essentially just to try and design a bionic hand that was as close to a real human hand as possible in terms of motion and ranges of motion in all the joints and different sort of grip types that it could get into. So for that reason it was called the Biomimetic bionic hand, as in it tries to imitate biology as closely as possible. The main application of this idea being that if in the future we can control prosthetics as easily as we can control our own limbs, then how closely would you be able to design a bionic hand to imitate a real hand in order to restore as much function to the amputee as possible? Or alternatively, there's also applications in maybe hazardous materials handling or telepresence robotics. So because there were so many degrees of freedom and joints in the bionic hand, I also needed to design along with it a control glove that would measure the angle of all the joints in the wearer's hand and then use that to control the bionic hand as finely as possible. This video is going to talk about the control glove mostly, and then I'll put out a separate video about the bionic hand. So what I'm going to do is just go through the video and try and explain everything that I can. So it starts off with this sort of overly simplified visual explanation of how it works, and it's designed just to be as non-technical as possible, just so that the most amount of people possible can understand it and appreciate it. So obviously it's missing quite a few steps. For instance, it's not as simple as just plugging the sensors directly into the Arduino, because there were so many sensors. There was about 25 in the glove. They had to go through a multiplexing circuit. So essentially, rather than send 25 individual signals down 25 different wires, they had to be put through a circuit that would alternate between 4 different signals at a time. So it allowed the Arduino to have an input for all 25 sensors, but only go through about 4 or 5 pins. So it seemed like it would be quite complicated at first, but the multiplexing circuit's actually really simple. But because there were so many inputs, the soldering of it was an absolute nightmare, as you can see. It was a big job to solder all these, and it's probably a really horrific circuit board layout, but it seemed to do the job anyway, it seemed to work. So then we go straight onto the control glove. I think in my head I'd thought that this would be a really simple part of the project, because obviously I've used potentiometers to control servos before, and I thought, oh, it'll be simple, we'll just attach a potentiometer to each joint in the hand, and then it'll be super simple to control the hand. But actually, obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that. If you need to actually get, if you need to actually allow the user to be able to use the hand dexterously, then you need to mount the potentiometers in a way that they don't obstruct motion whatsoever. So I made a little demonstration of how at each joint there's a potentiometer attached to a little dual lever that goes over the top of the joint and allows you to move your finger with as much dexterity as possible and still be able to detect the full range of motion in the potentiometer. And I think at the very least it looks really nice, and it really looks cool when you see the movement of my hand while I'm wearing the glove. So yeah, I was really happy with the way it looks, not that it really matters for this sort of project. So I had an earlier design for this, which used the bigger potentiometers that you screw in and bolt in, and that earlier design turned out to be a fair bit more robust, because in the second iteration I wanted to make it a lot more compact and ended up using surface mount resistors, which are a lot more flat and compact, but also really less robust. So I think that mechanically the system works fine, at least in terms of all the linkages and how the linkages move with the finger. If you really think hard about it, the The rotation of the potentiometer as compared with the rotation of the person's finger about the joint you're looking at won't be entirely linear, and in certain positions the rotation of the potentiometer will move more or less relative to the finger. For example, in this little clip you'll see that the first lever seems to move a lot more and a lot faster when the finger's nearly completely straight compared to when the finger's more bent. I think it would be possible to get a perfectly accurate angle of the joint based on the angle of the potentiometer if you worked it all out mathematically and made like an algorithm in the Arduino, but it would just take up so much processing power, and it just wasn't really necessary on this scale and this early in the development. So it was fine really, it was barely noticeable, the discrepancy. So mechanically I think it worked fine, but the main issue was that these components were surface mount, which means that they have really tiny little contacts designed to be put on a surface and never moved. So whenever you solder something, the solder's a little bit more brittle than the wire was before, because obviously wire's flexible and solder's just like a solid lump of metal. So when I initially started moving my hand around in the glove, quite a few of the contacts broke, because obviously the wires need to be flexible as the hand's moving around, but any movement of the contacts that I'd soldered would just break really easily because they were so small and brittle. So my solution was to try and pot them in. So you see on electronics sometimes they just fill up a circuit board with resin to protect it from water or damage or whatever. And I tried to do a similar thing using this two-part epoxy, epoxy sculpt actually. It's just like a two-part epoxy resin that you can sort of mould with your hands, and I just pushed it into these gaps. Definitely made some difference, but it was still just not quite enough, and a few contacts still snapped after I'd already done that. So it made it a really sort of shaky foundation to be able to develop the software on top of. But regardless, as you see later on in the video, it is working with the bionic hand, and also with like a simulation in Unity. So all of the finger joints and half of the thumb joints just have one axis of motion, so they're just a really simple hinge. But there's certain joint types in the hand that are a little bit more complicated than that and required a different sort of mechanism. So the first one to notice would be the joint at the knuckles of the hand. These are called MCP joints, and rather than being a hinge joint, they have 2 degrees of freedom, at least in my bionic hand. The motion is actually a little bit more complicated to describe than just 2 axes, because they turn inward slightly as they move from side to side, but it's such a tiny little movement that it made sense to just simplify it to be 2 axes of motion. So in the original clunky glove, the 2 potentiometers for the knuckle joint were mounted just behind it, and a larger dual lever went over the whole of the knuckle. But then because the potentiometers weren't centered around the origin of the movement in the knuckle, obviously, I had to use like a little ball socket joint, and it was all a little bit dodgy, whereas in the newer redesign I designed it so that the potentiometer could just be directly over the knuckle and wouldn't need to worry about the levers being out of alignment. The sensor for the wrist used the same kind of idea, with a dual lever on top of a rotating base, but it was just on a larger scale really, as you can see. There were no real problems with this other than the contacts breaking, so this is another area where I would need to design the point where the contacts attached to the potentiometer to be a lot more robust and still allow for flexibility with the wire so it can move. Base of the thumb is something that I thought about for absolutely ages, and I had a lot of different ideas of how I could do it. I'm not entirely satisfied with this one that I went with, but it does seem to work fairly well, although you can see in the tests that it's not exactly perfect. The first bone in the thumb that's sort of buried in your palm is covered in muscle all the way around, so that means that as you move your thumb around, the shape of that area completely changes shape as the muscle contracts and extends. So this made it really difficult to try and design a way for a sensor to attach to it. So what I eventually went with was a little section right near the knuckle of the thumb and right near the wrist, as those are kind of the areas with the least muscle. And then I used little potentiometers attached to pulleys, actually, with a little torsional spring, so that it could measure the movement of the thumb in two different axes, from left to right and up and down, and the pulleys would sort of unwind to allow the thumb to move, and this unwinding would be measured by the potentiometers and used to control the thumb. So as I say, I'm not really happy with this design. It definitely needs some reworking to be a little bit more robust, but detecting motion in the thumb as acutely as that was really challenging, especially because the thumb's probably the most important finger to allow you to do anything really. And finally there was the sensor to measure the flexion of the palm via the movement of the metacarpal bones inside the palm. I would say this part is the biggest sort of work in progress sensor, because I haven't really figured out a way yet to measure it without really compromising the stability of the knuckle sensors further up. So it just uses kind of like a lever that goes across the palm of the back of the palm and attaches at the knuckle. So overall with this glove design, I would say there's nothing wrong with the mechanisms in concept, but in order to make it work repeatably and reliably, I would need to find a more reliable potentiometer to use throughout the design. Probably not a surface mount at all, or if it is, it needs a really clever way of keeping the wire completely held still, better than my epoxy idea, of keeping it perfectly still where the contacts are, but then allowing it to be flexible past that point. And probably needs better quality wire and better quality solder, and probably thinner wire as well, because there were so many wires on the thing that it did actually start to obstruct the motion a little bit. And the other thing as well was that all these tiny little things were really noisy, so the signal was super shaky, which was really unfortunate, and I had to sort of write a program to smooth it out. I assume just because there's so many wires crossing over each other and maybe interfering with each other slightly, or maybe it's just the quality of the soldered connection, and whereas the original design that I'd had that used the big clunky screw-in potentiometers didn't have any noise at all, and that was really smooth. In order to make the control glove work, I would need to sacrifice some mobility in exchange for just more robustness. Now you might be thinking, like, why would you even need that many potentiometers? You could probably approximate the movement of the whole finger with just one potentiometer for like how open or closed the finger is. Like humans are actually that dexterous that it's easy to isolate each individual finger joint at a time, and that is absolutely correct. Although the whole idea of this project was just to design a bionic hand that had like the maximum dexterity that a human could ever have, to be able to. The idea was really just like, if in the future we can control prosthetic hands really easily, like we can somehow wire directly into the brain or whatever, how near could you get the design of the bionic hand to a real human hand, and could you get to the point where you'd be able to play the piano and paint and do all these fine things with your hands. So I do think that designing the control glove on this level has meant that if I wanted to make a simplified version that did just use 1 or 2 potentiometers for each finger, I would be able to just design a super robust, a super effective and robust one without too much trouble, because I've gone through the effort to try and really design this overcomplicated one. And I sort of have a really good idea of how you could do it. I mean, quite a few people have made control gloves for like the in-move bionic hand and stuff like that, and most of them use bend sensors, which it looks like it works fine, but they cost a fortune. So by using potentiometers with this lever arrangement that I have, I could build a simplified glove that only really has like 1 degree of freedom per finger, for like almost no money at all. And I do still think this really complicated one could work. It just needs just more robust potentiometers, a better way to manage the cables, and it really just needs just sort of further iterations of the design. There's so many things that you can't really notice in SolidWorks until you print it out and sort of test it. With something so complex and organic as a human hand, there's no way to really simulate it accurately in SolidWorks or any CAD software. I mean, you can try and get a 3D model of a human hand and try and fit it to the model of the control glove, but you can never really fully appreciate how it feels and how natural it moves or anything like that. So it is something that you just have to build prototypes of and make iterations of, unfortunately. But yeah, I do think that given a few more iterations, it could work perfectly well. So then it goes straight onto this bit in Unity. So I'd never used Unity before this, and I was sort of reluctant to learn everything from the ground up, because I thought I wouldn't be using it that long, so I tried to just kind of like cheat my way through the code and just copy and paste bits, but I ended up having to learn most of it anyway. So realistically it would have been easier to just start at the bottom and work my way up and understand everything, rather than try and jump in at the deep end and end up having to learn all the basic stuff anyway. So I found this hand model online and rigged it up in Blender to have all the same ranges of motion as my control glove. Yeah, so what's not shown in that university open evening demonstration is all the setup that eventually got me to this really smooth looking hand. So it looked a little bit horrific at one point, but gradually I sort of tweaked all the values to be able to get it to look nice. For the longest time I couldn't figure out what was wrong with the model, that it just didn't move right, and it only occurred to me right near the end that the bones, as you place them in Unity, in Blender, sorry, when you're rigging it up, they have a direction and they have a sort of X, Y, Z axis. So I'd just been kind of placing them willy-nilly and not been thinking about their rotation. So when I went to program the hand in Unity to move through a certain rotation at each joint, I found that it was going all over the place and twisting and going off at funny angles, and I couldn't figure out why. But obviously it was quite simple. Just needed to rotate the bones in Blender to be around the axes that I wanted them to rotate. So this took a really long time, but I'm happy that I went through all this, because it's like another skill that I've learned. Is I have some idea of how Unity works now, and I think the video of it working is pretty cool. And it also gave me a really good starting point for mapping the data from the control glove onto the bionic hand. So I'm going to talk about the bionic hand in another video, so come back for the part 2. I hope you've enjoyed this little roundup of how the project went, and I'll see you in the next video.